Take a look at that Doge there, folks. That Doge is thinking, I am a currency, just like that trading card. But the truth is, the Dogecoin is a currency, and the trading card is really not a currency. Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Parkside Merchant channel. So the topic actually for today's video is actually a pretty serious one. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the differences between a trading card, right, a piece of cardboard, and currency, as in the types of currency that you use to purchase things. Now, at first blush, you might think, well, a trading card has value. It has a fairly well understood value if it's a PSA graded card that's encapsulated, and it can be exchanged in an open market for other goods and services, right? People could, in theory, pay for something with a trading card, insofar as some people might want to accept a trading card as payment, although I gather that in a lot of places that wouldn't necessarily be the case. But you could be forgiven for thinking that a trading card is somewhat similar of an asset type to something like a dollar or a unit of cryptocurrency, for example, which is why we have that nice image of the Dogecoin on this video here. So I wanted to share some of my opinion about why I think that cryptocurrency and currency, just more broadly speaking, are fundamentally different types of asset classes than trading cards. It's just a different thing. A lot of folks that watch my channel are probably familiar with the television series Silicon Valley. And the reason I bring this up is because there is a moment in one of the seasons on this show where one of the characters, Guilfoyle, gets into a discussion with one of the leading characters in the show, Richard Hendricks, about cryptocurrency and initial coin offerings and all this sort of stuff. I won't give too many spoilers, but they get into a discussion about crypto. And one of the things that happens is the Guilfoyle character has to lecture Richard Hendricks about cryptocurrency and educate him on why cryptocurrency is legitimate and why it's a legitimate asset class and what the definition of crypto is, right, and all this sort of stuff. And I was struck when I saw this. I actually rewatched some of these episodes recently, and it immediately got me thinking about cryptocurrency and currency as distinct from trading cards. And so I basically wanted to spend a moment here and just kind of run through some of my reactions to how this framework that they talked about on the show stacks up against trading cards as an asset category. Because I was curious, how many boxes does a trading card check when it comes to whether or not that trading card is currency? So let's find out. So this slide talks about some of the properties of sound money and gets into some detail about what those attributes are. So the first attribute that you see here is durable, right? Sound money or a sound currency would be durable, physically stable, does not rust or melt or fall apart or rot. You could see throughout human history, right? There's a reason that people have used hard metals like copper and bronze and gold and silver and so forth to forge their coins in the past, because it's practical to do so, right? That metal coin, you can keep it in your pocket, you could drop it in the dirt, you could get it wet, it could fall off your wagon, or it could get chewed on by your horse or your donkey or whatever in human history a long time ago. And it would presumably hold its form and still be somewhat recognizable. If you were making your coins and things out of plants, like pieces of leaves, for example, or pieces of dirt, or a small piece of a twig or wood, right? That would be less durable. It could fall apart easily. It could get destroyed. It could get damaged to the extent that you wouldn't be able to tell what's in it or what it's supposed to represent. Now, obviously, yes, people will say, well, what about a paper note, a bank note, right? You could rip a dollar bill in half, or you could destroy a $20 bill with ease. It's not all that durable. I imagine the durability aspect of things kind of became less important as human history progressed. Again, I'm not a subject matter expert by any means about currency, but the durability thing is kind of a one of many criteria that you need to check. And in today's economy, right, because the dollar has such a well understood value, people take care of their dollars and they don't have to worry too much about it getting destroyed. So on this durability box, I would say that a trading card does actually check that box pretty well. I mean, especially if it's encapsulated and it's a PSA graded card, I would say yes, it is pretty durable. It's as durable as a $20 banknote, and maybe even as durable as some kind of a coin, you could argue. Some of those cases, like the BGS cases, you really gotta, I mean, those things are tough. Like, you've gotta really scrape it up and scratch it up to get those things opened. Same is kind of true with smaller coins. I guess you would need like a tool basically to break it or crack it or bend it, right? A lot of you have probably used those penny bending machines, right? In an aquarium or a zoo, they always have those. In any case, moving on from durable. Transferable. So is this unit of measure transferable? Easy to transfer ownership from one person to another. I would argue that a trading card does absolutely check this box. This is something that I would say is quite transferable. Just as transferable as any type of currency or any banknote or coin. You can just pick it up and you could hand it to somebody like you would hand a banknote. And if it's not encapsulated, you could argue it's even more transferable because you could fold it up in a wallet or you could pack it into your pocket. People obviously don't want to do that if you have a high value card. But you could still carry quite a number of PSA cards in a small box and transfer them rather easily. So yes, I think we do check that box for trading cards. Now, divisible. This is an interesting one here, folks. Can be subdivided into smaller units of money or units of measure, you might argue, and alternatively. I would say that a trading card really does not check that box very cleanly. Whereas a unit of Dogecoin or a unit of Bitcoin or a unit of dollar or British pound, right, or whatever, that's fairly divisible, right? You can divide it rather easily, and it can be fairly well understood what the value would be. In the case of a, I don't know, PSA 10 first edition Karibo, for example, I don't know what that divides into. In fact, I would argue that most people probably don't know what it divides into. Number one, its value may be somewhat arguable, depending on what it looks like. Is it a faded copy? Does it have some kind of anomaly? Does it have, I don't know, just certain attributes that might make people more interested in purchasing it versus others, an older certification number? Though you could make a huge laundry list of reasons why somebody might pay a premium for one encapsulated card versus another. But past that point, this notion of divisibility, there isn't necessarily a commonly understood subunit, I guess, that you would break it up into. Like the dollar, you could break that up into cents, you could break it up into smaller units, right? You could get quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, etc. And it's kind of obvious how many of those count up into a dollar. Now, you might say, well, is a penny truly divisible? It is, to a degree, right? Because the penny has a certain amount of value associated with it within the currency system. So you could have a tenth of a penny, and that would be known, like, what is a tenth of a penny worth? It's worth a tenth of a penny, which is worth a hundredth of a dollar, right? And so on and so forth. So in any case, the divisibility thing here is a little funny for me. I don't really think that trading cards check this box very cleanly today. Scarce. So trading cards absolutely check that box. I don't need to spend very much time on this. Limited quantity available for use. Pick any PSA 10, Super, Ultra, or Secret, first edition from vintage Yugioh, for example, and you check that box very easily. Ditto for Pokemon, ditto for Magic and sports cards and every other trading card category. There are scarce cards out there. Recognizable. Easy to recognize and verify authenticity. Yes, I would say that's absolutely true in the case of trading cards. This is especially true in the case of PSA encapsulated cards, authenticated cards that are in the database that have a cert number that you could look up, just like how every dollar bill in US circulation has a serial number, and you can verify its authenticity, right? And it's got all those unique identifiers, much like the PSA lighthouse label, right? You can put certain currency under light and determine if it's been counterfeited and so on and so forth. So I would say that most trading cards do check this box, especially if they are encapsulated. Now, how about fungible? This is interesting here, fungibility. So one unit of money can be substituted for another. Yeah, almost, I guess. Like 1 unit of LOB First Edition Blue Eyes could be traded for 1 unit of LOB First Edition Blue Eyes. There may be some subtleties or discrepancies that would affect the value of one versus another. Again, I alluded to earlier, there's notions of wavy and glossy and faded and non-faded and misprints versus non-misprinted and early cert numbers versus later cert numbers. All kinds of things. The substitutability, questionable, but I do think that, especially for the encapsulated cards, where you don't have a lot of question around the grade or the quality, then it is pretty fungible, probably. And so far as 1 unit of a certain card could be traded fairly for another unit of that card, if somebody wanted to do so. So I think the bottom line is, according to the Pied Piper coin framework for determining what is a form of sound money or sound currency, I believe that most trading cards, especially graded trading cards, check a lot of these boxes, with the one limitation probably being around the divisibility element. In any case, I do think it's a very interesting thought experiment, folks, to consider why it is that a trading card may or may not be very much like a currency. And you could imagine someday people would pay for goods and services potentially. If they have a lot of trading cards, you could probably, if the person that's providing those services or providing those goods is interested in those, those assets, it could very much behave and look a lot like a currency. That's all for the video, folks. Hope you enjoyed this thought experiment and this kind of fun topic here about currency and trading cards. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you feel like a trading card is currency? If not, what do you think are some of the key discrepancies or differences? Let me know down below. Once again, this is the Parkside Merchants channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.